I know I'm late to the game on this one, but I finally got around to watching Puss in Boots. So, I don't know what the holdup was exactly with going to see this movie, finally, Puss in Boots, or Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish. I didn't really have anything against it. Like, there was no, like, oh, I don't want to go see it because I don't like the animation style, or, whatever. I'm not interested. I mean, I like the first Puss in Boots. My favorite Shrek is Shrek 2, which is the movie that Puss in Boots makes his first appearance in. I think part of it is just because while I do appreciate animation films, I'm not hugely drawn to them. I like them, but they're just not like, oh, I must go see this. They're not movies that typically generate a lot of excitement in me. And so when this movie came out, I was like, oh, okay, I'll see it at some point. And I didn't really think seriously about seeing it on the big screen, but it's still around. It's still playing because I guess it's still doing pretty well. And so I decided it was about time. I think what the turning point for me, no, not really a turning point, because I did have it in the back of my mind to watch it, but I had seen the Critical Drinker's review of it, and he gave a glowing review, and it just underscored what I had already been hearing about this movie, that it was excellent. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go see it. So I had some time today, went to go see it. The first showtime, pretty early-ish, 12. I mean, they only have like maybe 2 or 3 showtimes now. But y'all, this movie, it's on the surface, it's made for kids, right? Because it's, presented as a kid's movie. But just like with the Shrek movies, there's a lot in here that will appeal to adults, or let me say, there's a lot of messaging in here for adults. And by messaging, I'm not referring to necessarily anything agenda-based or anything like that. By messaging, I'm meaning just things that can appeal to all of us on a human level because of life in general and all of our experiences and what we understand about the brevity of life and the importance of appreciating what you have and what you have right in front of you and not being frivolous with your life. The importance of relationships and, the relationships we have around us and those who care for us and stuff like that. And there was so much in here that was very touching. I mean, I kid you not, there were a couple of times where I felt it right in the feels. And I don't know how much of that is just, I don't know, it's me, my hormones, whatever. I don't know. But also, honestly, I think that a lot of times as a person gets older, they start to feel more sober and more contemplative and introspective about life and how they're coming closer and closer to the end of it. All of us are. I mean, every day that we're given, it just brings us closer to our end. We just don't know when it is. And this sounds very dark and everything, but the overlying theme of this movie has to do with the end of life and the brevity of life and the importance of not being careless with your life. So as you know, Puss in Boots, he's a cat, right? And cats have 9 lives. That ties into the premise. His 8th life has ended. He has 1 life left. And so now he's scared of death. He's no longer this fearless whatever he called himself. I can't remember. Fearless something. I can't remember. There's like some musicals in here that were not annoying, I have to say, because I'm not a huge fan of music in the middle of a movie or just musicals in general. There are some musicals that I like okay. It's very rare. But the songs, when they showed up in here, it felt very organic to the story, and it didn't feel like something really weird and wonky like what happens a lot of times, like let's say in Indian movies, where they'll have this music video, full-scale production music video in the middle of a story, and it's just like, no, that does not work. And I recently saw Pinocchio, because I'm going to be doing a live stream with Sound Booth Theater in a couple weeks, and there were songs in there, and I wasn't crazy about the songs in there either. I could have done without most, if not all of them. But the ones in here, they fit, and I like them. And at some point, I think one of the songs talks about him being fearless, or maybe he mentions it multiple times. So anyway, he's not fearless anymore. He's scared because death is coming for him. And he finds out about this map that would lead him to this place where he could make a wish. And so he wants to wish for his 9 lives back or something like that. So along the way, he meets up with this adorable, stinking adorable little dog. And that dog was one of the best parts. That dog was one of the best parts about this movie. And also another excellent part of this movie was the Lobo, the wolf. Can't remember what his name was. Maybe his name was just Lobo, whatever. He was excellent. Just the character dynamics and the dialogue and the voice acting in here was phenomenal. Like my ears loved every moment of the dialogue that I was listening to. The dude who did the wolf, and I need to look him up and see, his voice sounded really familiar, but he was so good. I mean, and Florence Pugh is in here, Antonio Banderas, of course, Salma Hayek, and the dude who does the little dog, I know who he is, can't remember his name, but the very first time I noticed him as an actor was in the Reacher series. He played like the mortician or medical examiner or something. Anyway, he was funny. I liked him in there. And so the voices are the animation, the expression on their faces. I mean, I loved everything about this movie. I have no cons to this movie. So this is just going to be nothing but glowing praise, honestly. So getting back around to what I was talking about, he goes on this journey. He meets this little dog, and he meets up with Soft Paws or whatever. I think she was in the other movie. Meanwhile, you have Goldilocks and the 3 bears, and they're also trying to find the place where they can make the wish. And then we have little Jack Horner. He's not little, he's big and huge, and he's like one of the main villains in here. And they're all going to converge on this place because they all have a wish that they want to make or whatever. And the wolf is just after Puss in Boots. So he's like a constant threat throughout. Anyway, the animation, like I said, just so good. And I don't think these pictures do it justice, really. I don't even know if the trailer does it justice, but I had heard multiple times where it was mentioned that the fight scenes in here were reminiscent of the animation or the fight animation in the Into the Spider-Verse that came out a few years ago. And I guess, honestly, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so I don't remember, but maybe you guys will know what I'm talking about. I guess they're talking about just the way they showed the characters as they were going to fight or whatever. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that I'd heard that, and I was looking for it, but when I saw it, I was like, well, I don't know. It's actually been a few years since I've seen it, so whatever. That's little Jack Horner right there, that big guy. The characters in here, they had such depth to them. Even the new characters, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, and Jack Horner, he was very much an over-the-top villain. He was just all bad. This guy was terrible. And the wolf, the little that you see of him, he does a really good job of establishing himself as a very believable menace to Puss in Boots. And I loved everything about how they wove all of this together, and the adult-themed messaging that was just very touching, especially the story of the little dog. I mean, he was comedic, yet the stuff that he talked about, the stuff that he, like his past that he talked about is very true to life. You know, people that want to get rid of their dogs because they just don't want them around, and he tells little stories about that, and it's like, oh dang, that is so sad. That is so freaking sad. And I just wanted to I just wanted to hold my little fur babies. I got all 3 of them in my lap right now. So watching that was just very touching. And the little dog, he was like this. So he was like an example of someone who has had a terrible life, but they don't focus on that. They're busy focusing on appreciating the little things that bring them so much joy. So like he was a complete opposite of Puss in Boots. Like Puss in Boots was so concerned about being able to get his 9 lives back, and he was so frivolous with the life that he had because he had 9 lives. He didn't care. When he talked about when they show all the different ways that he had died in here, all the lives that he had lost, it was so stupid. Like all the deaths were really dumb. It's like, you have 9 lives and you did stupid crap like that and your life ended. And so obviously there's messaging in there, you know, like not to take this life you have for granted. And don't be silly, don't be frivolous, don't throw it away on stuff. So the little dog, he's the complete opposite. He's got only 1 life, as he mentioned, and his life was pretty crappy, but he saw the joy in it. He saw everything he saw around him was something that he appreciated, something positive. He appreciated what was right in front of him, as opposed to Puss in Boots, who didn't appreciate what he had in the previous lives that he had. He wasn't grateful for that. And this little dog, who had been given this terrible lot in life, he just loved everything. He didn't wallow in self-pity, you know how some people can be, you know, and a lot of times when really, really bad things happen to people, it's very easy to get in that mindset. And I think probably along the way, at different points in our lives, we've all experienced that. And, you know, you look at the different things people have gone through, and it does seem like there are some people that just have a terrible lot in life, and it's just like they can't catch a break. And how in the world sometimes people that are going through such awful things are able to maintain this balance and this calm within themselves and this appreciation for what they have despite what they're going through. And I appreciated that messaging in here. And despite the fact that this is an animated film and something made for kids, I feel like this is something that has so much depth to it and very valuable lessons that can be taken away from this awesome little story that we're given. And, you know, basically, I guess if there was a theme that I could say this movie was about, it was about making the most of what you have and appreciating the hell out of what you had and the people around you. And obviously I'm not talking about, you know, people that are in toxic situations with those around them. I'm talking about, you know, people who have an otherwise decent sort of fellowship of people around them, not taking that for granted and to appreciate what they have, because you never know when that will be the last time you see them again, or they will see you. And this movie, it was just like, I knew I was going to like it. And I think it wasn't until, I think it was more than halfway through that it really started to hit me how powerful this movie was at its core. I just appreciated the heck out of it. I can't say enough good things about it. Like I said, I had heard excellent things about it. I'd heard nothing but good stuff about it. So I did not go in with the expectation that I was going to dislike it. I figured I would like it. I did not figure I would like it as much as I did. And I liked all the characters we were given. I also thought it was kind of cool that, like I had mentioned, that I had watched Pinocchio recently. And of course, they showed Pinocchio in here, which isn't super surprising. I mean, Pinocchio was in the other movies, but they showed Pinocchio in here and they showed Jiminy Cricket. I don't remember if Jiminy Cricket was in the others, but he was in here and he had the voice of Jimmy Stewart. And it just kind of reminded me of the Jiminy Cricket that was in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, who was voiced by Ewan McGregor. And I was thinking of the contrast between those two characters and how I really loved how both of them were presented. The one in here and also the one in Pinocchio. But anyway, if you guys haven't seen this film, please check it out. You know, if you don't like animation and there's just, it doesn't matter what form it is, I get that's fine. But if you like animation, you know, or if you're open to watching it, I would just heartily recommend this movie. And I hope that you would come away from it with the same level of appreciation that I did. I mean, despite it being wrapped up in this funny, comedic, sort of childish little package, not really childish, but, you know, like for kids, it was just one of the more firmly grounded. Oops. Okay, what was I saying? They heard something. What was I saying? I was saying, despite the packaging, right? This was one of the more heavy animations that I've seen in a good while. And I just appreciated how it was just something that could appeal to people of different ages. And I hope that you guys would maybe give this a go. And if you do, let me know what you think. I would hate it if you watched it and thought it was just awful. I mean, I don't think you think it's awful, unless you just hate animation, period. Okay, I could see that. But like, I would be really surprised if you walked away from this movie feeling disappointed or that you thought it was terrible. So I know I'm really late on getting this review done, or even just watching it for one. I mean, I saw it today, but I know I'm late to the game on this, but I like this movie enough that I wanted to talk about it for a little bit with you guys. I don't know exactly when this review is going to go up. Probably not until next Friday. So today is Tuesday oh gosh, what's today? What's today? It's so bad. Okay, it's Tuesday the 14th. But I'm going to have a review going up on Friday for Shazam. I'm going to go see Shazam on on Thursday to get the review up on Friday. I got an invitation to go on Mike's channel, Did You See That, for another live stream discussion. But because I'm going to go into an early showing of Shazam, I can't be there for that. But I have this sinking feeling, like I told him, I have this feeling that I'm going to wish I had just stayed home and participated in the live stream, because I'm not super optimistic about Shazam. At any rate, that's the review going up on this Friday, and there's no movie I'm going to go see on the big screen, like no opening Thursday night preview movie for next week. So maybe I'll put this up next week. I mean, it's already several months old, so I don't think it's going to matter much. This is not time sensitive. It's just something that I wanted to get out there because I really, really love this movie and definitely want to add this to my collection. I don't remember much about the first movie, but I have this impression that I like this more than the first one. I would be really curious to go back and rewatch the first one, because that was 11 years ago. I was 11 years younger then, and maybe it didn't affect me at that time that it could possibly affect me today. I don't remember if it had that really heavy messaging in it that this one did, but now I'm curious to compare the two. So anyway, I don't have anything else. I've gone over everything. The voice acting, oh my gosh, the voice acting was just, I loved it. I loved it. I did notice that Salma Hayek's voice sounds like it's changed a bit. I mean, I knew it was her, but she didn't sound completely like herself. So I don't know. Like her voice sounded deeper or huskier, and it made me wonder if she smokes. I don't know. But, you know, our voices change as we age. Gone over all of that. I've gone over everything. Fearless because he thinks he'll live forever. Yeah, completely irresponsible with the lives that he was given. The dog, the dog's the best part. The dog and the wolf. I love the wolf. I loved his character. You know, he was a menace to Puss in Boots, but he was just amazing. And just everything. Y'all, go watch this movie. Well, I mean, if it's not on the big screen near you, try to check it out if you can. If it is on the big screen, I would recommend go watching it on the big screen. I'm glad I went to go see it. Okay, that's enough. I've rambled on. I'm going to wrap this up. Later, guys.